Hello and welcome to CVR English. This is Asma Afriin and you're watching International News. In a recent statement from Washington, D.C., US President Donald Trump asserted that he has resolved 8 international conflicts, including those involving Rwanda, Congo, India, Pakistan and Thailand. He emphasized his commitment to saving lives over receiving accolades, saying, "I didn't get the Nobel Prize, a very nice woman did, and that's fine. I don't care about prizes, I care about saving lives." Trump claimed that his efforts helped ease tensions between India and Pakistan, citing praise from Pakistan's Prime Minister. He also suggested he could resolve the ongoing situation between Pakistan and Afghanistan if needed, reiterating his focus on preventing violence and promoting peace. US President Trump
also posted about your call with President Putin today. You spoke about the meeting in Hungary with him. Do you have a timeline or a date set for when?
Yeah, I would say within 2 weeks or so, pretty quick. Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with his counterpart, as you know, Lavrov, and they'll be meeting pretty soon. They're going to set up a time and a place very shortly. Maybe it's already set up. They've already spoken. And I thought it was a very good phone call. I thought very productive. But I'll be meeting with President Putin, and we'll make a determination. Tomorrow I'm meeting with President Zelenskyy, and I'll be telling him about the call. I mean, we have a problem. They don't get along too well, those two, and it's sometimes tough to have meetings, so we may do something where we're separate but equal. We'll meet and talk parties, but this is a terrible relationship the two of them have, and it's one of those things. I've seen things that nobody would believe, but this is one of them. So we're going to be meeting in Hungary. Viktor Orban is going to be hosting, and it's really something that's time. Last week, over 7,000 people were killed. That's ridiculous. And, you know, it doesn't affect our country. We're not losing people. We're not losing Bobby. We're not losing Americans. But they're losing Russians, Ukrainians, mostly soldiers, for the most part soldiers. And we hope we're going to get it stopped. I thought this would be, because of my relationship with President Putin, I thought this would be very quick. And it's turned out to be, who would think I did Middle East before I did this? We did a total of 8 now, 7 and now 8. And we're going to make this number 9.
Yeah, please. So you said you posted that there was...
You also posted about your call with President Putin today. You spoke about the meeting in Hungary with him. Do you have a timeline or a date set for when?
Yeah, I would say within 2 weeks or so, pretty quick. Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with his counterpart, as you know, Lavrov, and they'll be meeting pretty soon. They're going to set up a time and a place very shortly. Maybe it's already set up. They've already spoken. And I thought it was a very good phone call. I thought very productive. But I'll be meeting with President Putin, and we'll make a determination. Tomorrow I'm meeting with President Zelenskyy, and I'll be telling him about the call. I mean, we have a problem. They don't get along too well, those two, and it's sometimes tough to have meetings, so we may do something where we're separate but equal. We'll meet and talk parties, but this is a terrible relationship the two of them have, and it's one of those things. I've seen things that nobody would believe, but this is one of them. So we're going to be meeting in Hungary. Viktor Orban is going to be hosting, and it's really something that's time. Last week, over 7,000 people.
UK opposition leader Kemi Badenoch has sharply criticized Prime Minister Keir Starmer, alleging that his government deliberately collapsed a high-profile China spy trial to avoid upsetting Beijing. Speaking during the Conservative Party conference, Badenoch claimed Starmer wants to stuck up to Beijing and is failing to prioritize national security. Her remarks come amid growing pressure on the Prime Minister to explain the collapse of a case involving 2 British men accused of spying for China. Badenoch demanded transparency and called for a statement in Parliament, while former security officials also raised concerns about the government's handling of the case. Starmer responded by dismissing Badenoch's claims, saying she is neither a lawyer nor a leader. During a high-stakes meeting at the White House on October 17, 2025, President Donald Trump said he is open to discussing new military capabilities that would enable Ukraine to strike deeper into Russian territory. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy proposed a strategic trade: Ukrainian-made military drones in exchange for US Tomahawk missiles which have long-range precision capabilities. Trump acknowledged Ukraine's drone expertise and expressed interest in the deal, but stopped short of committing, saying he had not yet made up his mind. He emphasized the need to balance US military reserves with strategic support for Ukraine. The meeting follows a recent Trump-Putin phone call and precedes a planned US-Russia summit in Budapest, adding further geopolitical weight to the missile debate. Tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan have sharply escalated following the collapse of a fragile 48-hour ceasefire. On October 17, Pakistan launched fresh airstrikes on Afghanistan's Paktika province, targeting residential areas in Argun and Bamil districts. The strikes reignited hostilities just hours before the truce expired, dashing hopes for diplomatic de-escalation. The conflict has intensified over the past week, with cross-border clashes killing dozens of civilians and security personnel. Pakistan's military reportedly struck Afghan Taliban posts in Spin, Bodlak and Kandahar, while the Taliban accused Islamabad of violating agreements and causing civilian casualties. The situation has sparked fears of a multi-front conflict for Pakistan as unrest brews along multiple borders. The Afghan Cricket Board even cancelled a tournament involving Pakistan after 3 Afghan players were killed in the strikes. Despite brief ceasefire attempts, both sides remain entrenched and diplomatic efforts have yet to yield a sustainable resolution.
Were among those killed in the attack. In protest, the ACB has immediately withdrawn from the upcoming Tri-Nation T20 International Series involving Pakistan. This attack happened even as high-level diplomatic efforts were underway. Former US envoy Zalmay Khalilzad posted on X that Qatar had successfully persuaded both sides to extend the ceasefire and had invited defense ministers and intelligence heads to Doha to negotiate a permanent truce. He added that Pakistan instead chose to break the ceasefire. Pakistan's foreign ministry defended the strikes as self-defense, calling Afghan Taliban's actions unwarranted aggression. The spokesperson stressed that the strikes only targeted terrorists.
Pakistan, exercising its right of self-defense, not only effectively repulsed the assaults all along the border, but also inflicted heavy losses on Taliban forces and affiliated terrorist groups. Operating from the Afghan soil, these infrastructures were used to plan and facilitate terrorist attacks against Pakistan. Our targeted and precise defensive response was not targeted towards the Afghan civilian population.
The latest development saw a deadly assault by the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan on a military base in the tribal district of North Waziristan near the Afghan border in Pakistan. Now, according to reports, a suicide bomber rammed an explosives-laden vehicle into the compound's boundary wall. This was followed by a gun battle in which at least 7 Pakistani soldiers were killed and more than a dozen were injured. Pakistan Army officials have confirmed that a total of 4 militants, including the suicide bomber, were killed before they could overrun the facility. The escalation has caught the attention of US President Donald Trump. Trump, who has repeatedly boasted about solving multiple wars, claimed it was a simple matter of negotiations, calling it an easy one to solve.
This is pretty much the last one, although I do understand that Pakistan attacked, or there is an attack going on with Afghanistan. That's an easy one for me to solve if I have to solve it. In the meantime, I have to run the USA, but I love solving wars. You know why? I like stopping people from being killed, and I've saved millions and millions of lives, and I think we're going to have...
While Afghan side will be represented by Defense Minister Mohammed Yaqub.
Millions of people worldwide continue to suffer from anosmia, the loss of smell, often without realizing it. The condition surged during the COVID-19 pandemic and persists in many long-term cases, yet remains widely undiagnosed. Scientists warn that anosmia affects some more than just taste and appetite. It may be an early indicator of neurological disorders like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. COVID-related anosmia appears to involve inflammation and damage to olfactory neurons, raising concerns about broader brain health. Despite its prevalence, anosmia is still overlooked in routine care. Experts urge increased awareness and screening, especially for post-COVID patients, to improve quality of life and catch potential neurological issue early. It's a silent crisis hiding in plain sight.
COVID-19, most recovered, but this sense of smell is something was stolen during that illness, something so gradual, so subtle, that many never noticed it was gone. Researchers in the US, while studying the long-term consequences of COVID-19, found something alarming. About 3,000 people with COVID histories underwent tests for smell. The results were staggering. Among those who reported no smell problems whatsoever, more than half had actually sense of smell completely, and they had no idea. Think about that for a moment. You wake up, you drink coffee, you smell nothing different, your brain doesn't alert you, your life continues. But 66% of people who thought their smell was fine failed the objective tests. They were living without sensing odors, completely unaware. This is not about enjoying a nice perfume or a garden flower. This is about danger, gas masks or gas leaks, spoiled food, smoke from a fire. Your nose is supposed to protect you. COVID stole that guardian silently. Scientists tested people an average of 671 days after their COVID infection. Nearly 2 years later, the damage persists. It lingers. It doesn't fade away quietly into recovery. And what is more strange, even people without COVID showed 60% deficiency rates. Researchers suspect many caught the virus and simply didn't realize. The infection slipped through undetected and the damage remained. Researchers now want smell testing to become routine post-COVID care because a dulled nose is not cosmetic damage. It's a profound assault on physical and mental well-being. You can't miss what you don't know you've lost. And that's exactly what makes this silent theft so dangerous. The virus stole something precious and you never even noticed it. Caught COVID.
A New York jury has found French banking giant BNP Paribas liable for contributing to atrocities committed under the regime of Omar al-Bashir in Sudan. The verdict, delivered on October 17, 2025, followed deliberations over allegations that the bank's financial operations in Sudan helped sustain Bashir's brutal government. The jury sided with 3 Sudanese plaintiffs, now US citizens, who testified about horrific abuses, including torture, sexual assault, and ethnic violence carried out by Sudanese forces and the Janjaweed militia. BNP Paribas was ordered to pay $20.75 million in damages, with the court ruling that its services were a natural and adequate cause of the harm suffered. The decision could pave the way for thousands of other refugees to seek compensation for similar abuses.
A total of $20.75 million in damages to 3 plaintiffs from Sudan. The decision marks a rare instance of a major financial institution being held civilly accountable for enabling a regime responsible for genocide and other horrific crimes. The plaintiffs, 2 men and 1 woman, all now American citizens, testified they had been tortured, burned with cigarettes, slashed with a knife, and in the case of the woman, sexually assaulted. Plaintiffs' lawyers argued the French bank, which did business in Sudan from the late 1990s until 2009, provided letters of credit that allowed Sudan to honor import and export commitments. They claimed that these assurances enabled Omar al-Bashir's regime to finance violence against its own people. BNP Paribas has strongly rejected the ruling, claiming that there are very strong grounds to appeal the verdict. The bank's lawyers argued that the operations in Sudan were legal and that international institutions like the IMF partnered with the Sudanese government during the same period. Defense attorneys asserted that the bank had no knowledge of the human rights violations. According to the United Nations, the widespread violence in Sudan between 2002 and 2008 claimed 300,000 lives and displaced 2.5 million people. Omar al-Bashir, who governed Sudan for nearly 3 decades, was overthrown and detained in April 2019 following a sustained period of popular protests. The former president is currently sought by the International Criminal Court on charges of genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity related to the conflict in Darfur. Ordered a total of $20.75 million in damages to 3 plaintiffs from Sudan. The decision marks a rare instance of a major financial institution being held civilly accountable for enabling a regime responsible for genocide and other horrific crimes. The plaintiffs, 2 men and 1 woman, all now American citizens, testified they had been tortured, burned with cigarettes, slashed with a knife, and in the case of the woman, sexually assaulted. Plaintiffs.
The Israel-Gaza conflict continues to intensify, with Israel and the US issuing stern warnings to Hamas over the handling of the dead in Gaza. As humanitarian concerns grow, former US President Donald Trump's proposed peace plan has sparked division across the Arab world. Some nations cautiously support it, while others question its viability. Trump declared the war is over at a summit in Egypt, but Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu insisted the fight continues. Meanwhile, Turkey unveiled an ambitious plan to modernize its air force, including advanced drones and 5th-generation fighters. This signals a major shift in regional military dynamics, positioning Turkey as a rising power amid ongoing Middle Eastern tensions.
60 Minutes show with U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Witkoff said he and Kushner felt a little bit betrayed after the attacks. He said that the strikes led to the U.S. losing the confidence of the Qataris and forcing Hamas underground, making the negotiations very difficult. Kushner and Witkoff played an important role in the talks which led to the current truce in Gaza. That ceasefire seems to be holding for now. Hamas handed over to Israel the remains of 1 more hostage on Friday night, insisting it was committed to returning all the dead captives still unaccounted for under Gaza's ruins after 2 years of war. Israel confirmed the handover via Red Cross, saying the body will now be transferred to a medical analysis center for identification. This comes after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on Thursday reaffirmed his determination to secure the return of all hostages, and his defense minister has warned that the military will restart the war if Hamas fails to do so. Hamas has called these threats unacceptable pressure tactics. It said that the issue of the bodies is complex and requires time, especially amid the changed landscape of Gaza. Turkey dispatched a team of specialists to help retrieve remains buried under rubble, but the group was still waiting Friday for Israeli permission to enter the territory. Gaza's civil defense agency, a rescue force that operates under Hamas authority, said more than 280 bodies had been recovered from the rubble since the ceasefire went into effect. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan said that it is possible that Israel may use Hamas's limited ability to recover bodies from beneath the rubble as an excuse to resume military operations.
Use Hamas's inability to recover bodies from under the rubble due to lack of equipment as an excuse to break the ceasefire again. This is a concern for the international community.
The United Nations World Food Programme said on Friday it had been able to move close to 3,000 tons of food supplies into Gaza since the ceasefire took hold. But it cautioned it would take time to reverse the famine in the Strip, saying all crossings needed to be open to flood Gaza with food. Trump's 20-point peace plan for Gaza calls for renewed aid, with international organizations eagerly awaiting the reopening of southern Gaza's strategic Rafah crossing.
During a pivotal meeting at the White House, President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy discussed a strategic proposal that could reshape Ukraine's military capabilities. Zelenskyy offered to trade Ukrainian-made military drones, a field where Ukraine is considered a global leader, for US Tomahawk missiles, which have the range to strike deep into Russian territory. Trump acknowledged the potential of the deal, noting Ukraine's drone expertise and strategic value of lower-range missiles. However, he expressed hesitation, citing concerns about depleting US reserves and the risk of escalating the conflict. The meeting followed a recent Trump-Putin phone call and precedes a planned US-Russia summit in Budapest, adding diplomatic weight to the missile debate. Zelenskyy argued that acquiring Tomahawks would strengthen Ukraine's negotiating position and compel Russia to take peace talks seriously. Trump, while intrigued, emphasized that he had not yet made up his mind, signaling a cautious approach to further military commitments. This marks Zelenskyy's third visit to Washington since Trump returned to office.
To the Ukrainian leader that his priority now is diplomacy, and he thinks providing Tomahawks could undermine it.
They're a very powerful weapon, but they're a very dangerous weapon, and it could mean big, escalation. It could mean a lot of bad things can happen. Tomahawks are a big deal, but one thing I have to say, we want Tomahawks also. We don't want to be giving away things that we need to protect our country. We have a very strong country right now. We have a strong military. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest weapons in the world. I want to get this war over.
Trump later said on social media that he told Zelenskyy that it is time to stop the killing and make a deal. Trump also appeared to suggest both sides should accept their current front lines. The president, as recently as last month, had said that he believed Ukraine could take back all its territory, but a day after agreeing to meet Russian President Putin for a new summit, he changed his tune.
I met with President Zelenskyy, as you know, today, and we had a very good meeting, very cordial meeting. In my opinion, they should stop the war immediately. You go by the battle line wherever it is, otherwise it's too complicated. You'll never be able to figure it out. You stop at the battle line, and both sides should go home, go to their families, stop the killing, and that should be it. Stop right now at the battle line. I told that to President Zelenskyy. I told it to President Putin. Thank you very much, everybody.
Prospects of a deal since his 2.5-hour call with Putin on Thursday, in which they agreed to meet in Budapest. Trump added that he believed Putin wants to end the war.
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, what if? I think he will. I think that President Putin wants to end the war, or I wouldn't be talking this way. I think he wants to end the war. I spoke to him yesterday for 2.5 hours. We went through a lot of details. He wants to get it ended. I think that President Zelenskyy wants to get it ended. Now we have to get it done.
First of all, I think we need to sit and speak. The second point, we need ceasefire. Even now, you see in the Middle East, it's very difficult to hold ceasefire. Everywhere, in every war, it's very difficult. We want peace. Putin doesn't want. That's why we need pressure on him. We will speak with President today what we need.
He later told reporters that Russia was afraid of Tomahawk cruise missiles, but that he was realistic about receiving the weapons from Washington. He told reporters that while he and Trump talked about long-range weapons, they decided that we don't speak about it because the United States doesn't want escalation.
less optimistic that you are going to get those Tomahawks?
I'm realistic.
That's not a yes.
According to sources, Zelenskyy showed Trump maps of potential targets for strikes in Russia during the meeting. These maps showed pressure points in the Russian defenses and military economy that could be targeted in order to compel Putin to end the war. Zelenskyy also said that it is time for ceasefire negotiations, but he appeared to stop short of embracing Trump's call for an immediate end to the war and for the two sides to stop where they are.
I think we have to stop where we are, and he is right. The President is right that we have to stop where we are. This is important, to stop where we are and then to speak.
Zelenskyy said he would be ready to swap thousands of Ukrainian drones in exchange for Tomahawks. Zelenskyy came to Washington hoping to capitalize on Trump's growing frustration with Putin after a summit in Alaska failed to produce a breakthrough. But the Ukrainian left empty-handed as Trump eyes a fresh diplomatic breakthrough on the back of last week's Gaza peace deal. That the meeting wasn't tense, and according to reports, Trump made clear to the Ukrainian leader that his...
That's all for now. Keep watching CVR English.